What's up, Vikings fans? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chad Sports. Coming up on today's show, we have some rumors around the Minnesota Vikings signing these two free agents, Emmanuel Ogbah and then Hunter Renfrow. Yes, we're talking wide receiver 3 again on today's show, as that is probably the hottest topic around Vikings media circles. But before we dive into that, guys, I just want to get the good vibes going as we are in the dog days of the NFL calendar. Not much going on, no real, news pieces coming out right now. So if you love the Minnesota Vikings, just give me a skull down in the comments section. I cannot wait for week 1 versus the Giants when we're live here on the channel and we're just flooding the chat with skulls. But let's start it right now on, July 5th. So if you guys could, type skull down below. But talking about Emmanuel Ogbah here. And, the Vikings, I thought, did a great job replacing Danielle Hunter this offseason. I think they went a little Moneyball style, where if you guys remember in Moneyball, Brad Pitt was trying to replace Jason Giambi, and he didn't say we need to, go get one All-Star. We just need to, accumulate enough stats to match like the 30 home runs, 150 RBIs, or whatever it is. I think the Vikings did that already by, drafting Dallas Turner, signing Jonathan Grenard, and also bringing in Andrew Van Ginkel. But the Vikings did get linked to Emmanuel Ogbah by Bleacher Report, as they said the Minnesota Vikings could also consider Ogbah. After reloading their pass rushing rotation this offseason, they lost Danielle Hunter, but added Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jihad Ward, and rookie Dallas Turner. And, if the Vikings are going to make another big-time, free agent signing with their $26 million left in cap space, I think they should look at another position. I think they're fine at edge rusher. I think Turner's going to come in and be impactful from day one. And we know Van Ginkel, we know Jonathan Grenard. They have shown them, over the past couple of years to be elite edge rushers in the NFL. So I think they're good there, but it wouldn't hurt adding a guy who is already familiar with Brian Flores. They were with each other back in Miami during the 2020 season where we saw Ogbah have 9 sacks, and, he was fantastic. But, I think the Vikings already have some studs in this pass rushing department. We can start with Jonathan Grenard, who had his breakout season this past season and only playing in 15 games. He had 12.5 sacks, a forced fumble, 52 tackles, and we really saw him, take that next step. So I think he's going to come in with the, with Brian Flores. I think he's going to have some of his best ball, played throughout his NFL career. And plus, he's young. He's upcoming. I think, we're just waiting on his prime to finally hit. But honestly, the player I'm most excited to watch this upcoming season, and, it may be a little funny here, but I think it's Andrew Van Ginkel. Biggest reason? He is a perfect scheme fit with Brian Flores. Look at these stats for Van Ginkel. The fact that I was putting on interceptions, PBUs, sacks, tackles, and touchdowns as the 5 stats just speak to how versatile he is as a football player. And he had 8 PBUs, 6 sacks, a touchdown, an interception, 69 tackles. Van Ginkel and Brian Flores is a match made in heaven. And they also do have a connection from back in their time with the Dolphins as well. But an underrated signing this offseason, I thought. Jihad Ward. And, didn't get the most tick with the New York Giants this past season, but was still able to accumulate 5 sacks, had 24 tackles, 5 TFLs, and him as just a rotational piece. I'm a big fan of that move. And, we get to the rookie, Dallas Turner, who, the more I look into this draft pick and the more I watch him, the Vikings got the best defensive player in the draft at pick 17, which was fantastic. And again, we talk about scheme fit a lot here on this channel. We talk about, versatility with these players. Dallas Turner, he has the ability to drop in the coverage. And, I think, it's funny. We joke around this a lot in the Chat Sports offices, but eyes don't lie when watching a lot of these guys. Dallas Turner's the best example of that. Super bendy, reminds me of a young Von Miller, the way he has that bend coming off the edge. So I think a big year is going to be coming for him. But also I like that the Vikings, aren't asking Turner to be the guy right away because of the other additions of Jihad Ward, Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard. If he needs to take a couple weeks at the beginning of the season just to continue to develop, he can do so. But I think the Vikings edge department is absolutely stacked. But you guys grade it for me down below in the comments section. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. If I had to give it, if I want to put the homer bias aside that I always have, I'll give it a B+. They don't have that top-end guy like the TJ Watts or the Myles Garrett, but I think they're one of the deepest departments in the entire NFL. So I'll give it a B+. All right, let's talk about wide receiver 3 and if the Vikings should sign Hunter Renfrow to play that position. this is a hot topic amongst Vikings fans, media members, whoever it may be. All we talk about is the wide receiver 3 position. And the latest one to, get in on the wide receiver 3 talk was Janik Eckhard. Does a great job covering the Minnesota Vikings. Give him a follow on Twitter if you guys haven't already. But he said another slot receiver, Hunter Renfrow, is the only free agent on the list. He eclipsed 1,000 yards in 2021, and everybody expected him to produce at a high level when Josh McDaniels took over as a new head coach after elevating the play of slot receivers in New England for years. But his last 2 seasons have been underwhelming, as he only caught 61 passes for 585 yards in those campaigns. The low investment and the hope that he can return to form are the 2 reasons why a signing is intriguing compared to the other players the team could save draft capital by avoiding a trade. Now, I don't hate the idea of Hunter Renfrow by any means, because also I do think, like him next to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, it just delivers another archetype of wide receiver. And, obviously Addison and Jefferson, they can both play in the slot. They can play all over the football field, which is what makes them so effective. But, I think the Vikings got a solid 3-man race at this wide receiver 3 spot. Like, you got Brandon Powell, familiar with Kevin O'Connell and what he likes to do at that wide receiver 3, slot position. You also got Jalen Naylor, who we'll get into here in a second, but also Trent Sherfield. Like, Trent Sherfield is one of the better run-blocking wide receivers in the entire league. And with the Vikings not being able to run the ball over the past couple of seasons, like, I could see them going a little powerhouse with Sherfield during some of those sets. And I think he could be a good option. But I do want to dive into Jalen Naylor here for a second. I have became almost too big of a fan of this guy. Like, I don't know what it is. And maybe it's the name. Like, I'm a big name theory guy. I like the name of Jalen Naylor. I think it's going to work out. But you go watch his tape at Michigan State. For a team that was in a run-heavy offense, he was fantastic there. Super silky, can get in and out of routes. And he has, I think if I had to give, like, my ideal wide receiver next to Jefferson and Addison, it would just be a complete burner. Like a guy who can take the top off the defense, like a Mecole Hardman. Obviously Tyreek Hill's an extreme example there. But I think Jalen Naylor's got that type of speed. So if I had to make my call on who I want to be wide receiver 3 this upcoming season, personally I would go Jalen Naylor. But, if it's between Naylor or if it's between like Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield, and Hunter Renfrow, I actually might consider bringing in Renfrow for maybe a 1 year, $3 million deal. But hey, you guys let me know who would be wide receiver 3 for the Vikings this upcoming year. Now, I do think the Vikings need to address other positions before wide receiver and edge. Like, I think they would go interior offensive line or interior defensive line with the remaining cap space. So I would probably stay away from, using that on, a Renfrow-esque player or an Emmanuel Ogbah. Also, you got to remember, we're going to have to pay Christian Darrisaw. I would like to get that deal done this summer. So maybe you give him like $24 million on the books this year and you can kind of, where you don't have to backload that deal. So I could see that being the case. But, do just want to say thank you guys so much for watching today's show. If you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter, that's a handle right there, @PatSieps. And, thank you guys so much for being the best fans in the world. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.